did that with a special type of heart test where you put a wire near and inside the heart, which is very delicate. We also took samples of the aorta, which you can't do mainly in people. You can't keep taking samples from the aorta unless they're having a major operation. And we looked down the microscope, and we looked out, and then we transferred all those images onto a computer so we could analyze them. And we looked at how much damage was happening to the wall itself. So this bad protein, this MMP, was damaging the wall. So we had to go to Galway, and our friends in Galway, we have a small microscope, and of course they have a bigger microscope. So of course they'd have to have the biggest microscope in the country, and they're very interested. Anybody we talk to about people with Marfans, we say we're interested in Marfans, and we tell them all about it and what happens, and people get excited about it. They get very passionate about it, and they kind of join us. So we gathered a lot of people together with our group of researchers, and everybody got in, and they said, look, this is a charitable foundation, and they too then, they did an awful lot of their work for free with us. So we kind of brought on the spirit of the people from around this area with us. And we look down, and we can see, with this certain microscope, we can see inside the cell. So we can see we can make a cell which you can't see with your naked eye. We can actually make it so big that we can see all the little parts inside the cell, see what's happening with this protein. So what happened when we looked at everything? We looked at the size of the aneurysm, and we found that losartan was very good, and that's being tested in other centres, and indeed there's clinical trials started on losartan. So we're just trying to keep pace with all these big places who do huge research, and we're keeping pace with that. And we said to them that we've now shown that pravastatin in an animal condition, in an animal model of Marfans, we've shown that pravastatin, a cholesterol tablet, was effective as well. And that's new. That's new information. People haven't known that yet. If you looked that up on the internet 2 or 3 years ago, nobody would have said that was the case. We also looked down our microscope, and we saw that losartan was very effective, and that pravastatin had some effects on the wall of the aorta itself, on how much damage that was being done. So we also looked at inside the cell, and losartan was having an effect on the protein, as was pravastatin, to see how the drug was working. And there's much more work to do, because this magic that we don't know about, we're trying to get to the underneath. So to take the magic away from it and say, this is exactly how it works. So then we can say, if it's working in this manner, then we'll be able to give it to people who have the condition, or other aneurysm conditions. So we went with this information. We went to the 8th International Research Symposium on Marfan syndrome. This is a big meeting for people who have Marfan syndrome. It only happens every 5 years. It's an international meeting. People come from, there's more than 25 countries come together, and they talk about these conditions, because there's only a very few people who research on this condition. So then they become experts in it, because everybody flocks to them. So that was in Virginia, in Washington, D.C. You can see it on the map there, home of the White House. And we went, and all the people from different countries came, and had all the different experts. There's genetic experts, there's the head surgeons in these conditions, the people who are best at operating on aortas, and the cardiologists, the doctors themselves who keep an eye on these conditions. So we discussed our research, and they thought it was very interesting, and they gave us feedback on it, and we discussed all the other research that was going on for people with Marfans. So indeed, establishing Ireland as a research centre, so the funding that was generated established Ireland on the international stage as a research centre for people who have Marfan syndrome. At that meeting, clinical trials were discussed from all around the world, from the States, Holland, Germany, even Greece. They're doing trials with losartan. And we're saying that maybe, how about using a cholesterol tablet and some antibiotics too. There's a number of different projects. And then at that meeting, there's discussions about what research is going to be done in the future. So then we brought this, our research then, Professor Reverend suggested that we bring this to the American Heart Association. That's a really big meeting. That happens every year. Things that happen that have just been found out can be shown at this meeting, even at a late stage. There's a massive amount of media coverage, especially in America, about this meeting. They quote 4.7 billion media impressions have been made at this meeting. So it was held in Chicago last year. It's in Orlando. It should be a bit warmer there this year. And that was held in Chicago. So it's a beautiful place. And when you get off the plane and get into taxi, they say, "Oh, are you here for the meeting?" The whole place is all talk about this American Heart Association. It's a big meeting, and that's just one of the corridors at the conference centre. It's absolutely huge. And they talk about, and we got a chance to speak about the research that was done on your behalf. And we said that pravastatin reduces this ballooning of the aneurysm in this condition. So this then was published in a journal called Circulation, as we can see here. Circulation is a very specialised journal for people who are interested and who research in heart conditions. And we published our findings and what we did and how we did it and what the outcome was in that. Circulation has a very big readership. It has anything that's put in that has a big impact on what research is done. There's over 23,900 scientists and cardiologists who read this. They get this journal sent out to them. There's thousands, hundreds of thousands more who read this journal on the internet. So if anybody has one of those fancy smartphones where you can get on the internet, you can take it out here, and if you type in Marfan and pravastatin, you'll be able to find this exact journal and what research was done on this condition. So it's truly is worldwide information now. So it's emailed to doctors. One of the doctors I work with in Cork University Hospital came up to me and said, "Oh, I've just got an email about the research Professor Redmond and your group have conducted." So that really shows us that this has really come back. It's come back to all different countries, and it's emailed to all the different doctors. So then, hopefully, we can discuss this as a community and conduct research from there. So thank you very much from our part, and well done to you. Congratulations for all your work.
Let's have yours and wait for John, and then maybe take questions and things like that.
You up to Professor Redmond.
Thanks, Darren. So I'm not sure if everybody here realises the magnitude of your fundraising over the last few years, and we'll come back to the ins and outs of it in a while. It really has been a phenomenal effort on your behalf, and we've been able to tap into the goodwill, as Darren has mentioned, over the last few years of other universities and other research centres around the country here, and in fact in the States as well. And that has helped us too, and has helped us really make a lot out of a small amount of money in the grand scheme of things. So what I'm going to do is go through with you the money that's been raised, what we've spent to date, and what we'd like to work towards and spend it in the future. As mentioned, well, it's now up, what's it, €211,836, but now it's an extra 30,000 on top of that. So we're huge funds raised to date. And, you know, if we look at the budget of the Irish Heart Foundation, you'd be tipping that now pretty soon, their yearly budget for research. So I can't describe to you what a spectacular effort it's been over the years, and it's credit to Geraldine, the whole family, and to all friends and neighbours in this area, and everybody who's contributed over the last several years. The research has been done on mice, and the one good thing about working with mice is they're simple and cheap to take care of. And because Darren and John and Jonathan McGuinness have done this work as part of their research, as part of their training, we've been able to keep the money, and we've been very parsimonious and haven't spent too much money. So we've spent about 47,000 to get that publication into Science and to really circulation, and to really develop the field and to give many increasing options for treatment of Marfan syndrome. So that's been a very good return so far. So the funds remaining were 164,000. So we've quite a lot up there, and now it's 194,000. So what and how are we going to spend that for the future? Well, up until now it's been done on the genetics of the condition, and Hal Dietz, who has discovered the Marfan gene in humans, who is a colleague